I feel the need for tweed. Well, who wouldn't with a Jaguar XJ? Welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon. Today I'm at the second Bicester Scramble of 2024. So let's have a look around at some of the great cars, some of which are still arriving. Now, as Johnny Smith would say on Smith and Sniff, find another. It's a Datsun 140J. Now, better known in some markets as the Datsun Violet. It's had a huge, super successful program on the East African Safari Rally. Looks like an original UK car. Honestly, I have seen them, but back in the day. I've not seen one recently. Wow, that is a very rare beauty. So the guys from the Intercooler Podcast, you may have be aware of that one. Dan Prosser and Andrew Frankel, being two ex-autocar journalists, they brought along a hell of a collection of cars. You've got a McLaren Senna. You've even got the original Gordon Murray designed McLaren F1. These are super rare now. Incredible hand-built BMW lumps. In the back of those, we've even got a McLaren Speedtail as well. And I think that is an Artura. I'm not quite sure. What an absolutely brilliant collection of vehicles. And I would imagine the cost of that lot together is serious money. Now, we're slightly back down to earth with this relatively late, I think a 94. I think these were classed as the A124, the convertible version of the W124 chassis. And doesn't it look good? It's a later car like the one I tested on the channel. It's got the recessed grille, the slightly changed indicator lamps, and doesn't it look an absolute beauty? Unusual to see these in a solid red colour. Lovely beige leather interior. I'm sure Joseph of Lloyd Vehicle Consulting would approve of that one. And isn't it a pretty car? These were tipped for the top by one of the classic car magazines. Quentin Wilson was writing for them last year, I think. And they are such a pretty four-seater, aren't they? Well, it might not be a Cosworth, but actually probably it's pretty rare these days. It's the Ford Escort RS 2000. Not the 4x4 version, I don't think. It's got some different wheels on it, but doesn't it look a beauty? Now, despite the fact that this generation of Escort had an absolutely mauling from the press at launch, by the time the RS 2000 arrived, they'd actually got their act together. And if you look at the press reports of the time, road testers actually quite like this one. Now, I can understand why. A practical Ford with an RS badge that you can still buy at reasonable money's got to be worth a shout, hasn't it? Now, a very desirable manual spec is this Nissan 300ZX, officially imported into the UK. It doesn't look like it's actually an imported vehicle. It looks like an original UK car, to be honest with you. It's got the twin roof, so give you that semi-convertible feeling. Those panels, I think, just lift out. And as I say, it's a rare manual, and it's in super order. So many of these went down the Fast and Furious route, but this one looks pretty stock, thankfully. Introduced in '77, I think, is this shark nose BMW 635 CSI Coupe Sport Injection or something like that, I think. But more importantly, this one is an absolutely lovely car. It's in great condition. I don't tire of seeing these coupes at all. They are really pretty, aren't they? From any angle, you've got to love that shark nose front of the cars as well, haven't you? Engineered predominantly under Ford, I believe, is this X300 Jaguar, which succeeded the XJ40. I think there were quite a few carry forward parts on this one. The owner of this one's gone to the trouble of decking it out in full Jaguar racing logo, the livery that in actual fact the racing XJS has carried with Tom Walkinshaw Racing, and it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I feel the need for tweed. Well, there you go. Now we're back down to earth with a Fiat 126. I think I'm right in saying most of these were produced in Poland, maybe not. This looks great, doesn't it? It's absolutely tiny. It's got a couple of child seats in the back there, so that's pretty cosy. Well, there's still a fair bit of room in there. Looking at the exterior dimensions, it makes you wonder how that's happened, but it reminds us of the cars of our youth, and honestly, a Fiat 126, I can see why people still like them now. There was absolutely a public outcry virtually when Ford decided to replace the Anglia with the Escort in 1968. So loved was the Anglia. Now this one's been given the sort of Lotus twin cam treatment. I don't think there ever was a Lotus Anglia, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've done a very good job of it. It's got the traditional Lotus green stripes on the side. It's got a bit of Lotus badge in there as well. Got those great fins and that typical Anglia 105 slung back rear screen, and it's good to see that here today. So criticised somewhat of looking a little bit cross-eyed from the front, which is probably a bit unfair, is this Morgan Aero. I think these are mini R53 mini headlamps at the front. You can see the washer jets there. An incredibly well appointed car, this one inside. Let's try and take a look inside. I think we can just about see through the window. It's not the biggest cockpit in the world, but it's very, very well appointed, isn't it? And you know, they've got quite a following, Morgan, still, even to this day. This was their attempt to take the brand forward. What do you think of that one, eh? This looks familiar, but at the same time not. It's an alloy-bodied Triumph GT4, so you can see some of the typical features, the forward hinged bonnet and the clips to release it there. It's got that typical back end, I think, of the GT6. I'm not sure what the story is behind this one, but it's certainly a rare one. Popping and banging its way in is that Renault Turbo. So with a rear spoiler that probably needs planning permission is this Datsun 240Z, so might be a relatively early one. It's got the extended wheel arches, love the louver over the back, got those wheel arch extensions. Wheels are still quite small, but not a lot of ground clearance with those tyres. It must be quite stiffly suspended. Does look glorious though, doesn't it? Doesn't this look classy? From a Grand Touring period is the Maserati Sebr. It's 67, 60, I think maybe a 67. It's on an E-plater. Some exquisite details here. Look at the badging, badging by, I guess, by the coach builder. Would that be Touring? I'm not quite sure. Beautifully styled car. And look at those lovely rear lights. I'm not sure they came out of the Fiat parts bin, who knows. Maserati, I think, was an independent company then, but what Maserati did best, some super Grand Touring cars. They were an absolute player, weren't they? That is beautiful. Now, badged as an e-hybrid, so you shouldn't feel too bad about driving one of these, is the Porsche Carrera GT. And doesn't that look immense? That rear spoiler is incredible, isn't it? Listen to that. Just purring, waiting to get in. Oh, there we go. Just on time. Designed by Gerald Palmer is this MG Magnette. I think of the late 50s these are. Now, you'll see some similarities with Wolsey's of period, because he also designed, I think he designed the Wolsey Pathfinder. So look how they fared in the handles into the top of the strip around the doors. That's a really lovely feature, isn't it? It's actually, for its day, I think it's actually quite an elegant looking vehicle, to be honest with you, and a real good looking sports saloon for the late 50s, I imagine. So this is a I think 82 registered Fiesta XR2 EG. That might be a Peterborough registration, actually. It's a bit sad that I know that. And this car did feature on Bangers and Cash, where the original owner actually bought it back and restored it. It was on the Lancaster Pride of Ownership stand, I think, last year at the NEC. And in fact, I interviewed the owner who just sent his brother to buy it back from the auction. These are immensely collectible. Not so many of the pre-injection cars seem to survive, certainly not sold in the numbers, great numbers that the injected cars were, or even the facelift car, to be honest with you. That's lovely nevertheless, isn't it? I don't know if we can fully capture how pretty these Pininfarina designed cars were, the 205s, and indeed some of the other cars he produced for them during the period, the 405 being another example. This is the XS model, so the one that probably got left a bit behind in the shadow of the GTI 1.6 and then 1.9. Nevertheless, got that lovely stick of rock trim. It's in beautiful condition. The interiors survived, and not all Peugeots did. I had them back in the day, and they were a bit flaky inside. That is super, super pretty, isn't it? Well, it is to me anyway. So Mazda of Hiroshima, Japan have always gone their own way, and no less with this Cosmos. So this one is a rotary engine car built in the 60s. I'm not sure exactly when, mid to late 60s. It's sort of a fusion of American sort of Buck Rogers styling and maybe what the Japanese interpretation was. Looks an absolutely lovely car inside, maybe an ex-Japan car. Incredible to see how they survive. I don't think these were built in huge numbers either. That is quite a car, isn't it? So this Toyota Century, it's difficult to tell if it's actually running or not. It's so quiet. I think these are a V12 engine. I believe it is running. Yeah, it is running. It's, I think the air conditioning on some cars sounds more than that. Oh, I'm not sure about that. The back window. Yeah, we'll move swiftly on from that one. That is absolutely glorious, isn't it? I think it is still Japan's only V12 suitable for presidents and leaders of business, and maybe Yakuza, who knows. To say they built such a low number of cars, I'm surprised I keep tripping over Gordon Keebles. But here's another example. I'm not sure, that looks like a 1965 car built, I think, at Eastleigh down in Southampton. Company went bust due to supplier issues, not lack of order bank, but couldn't get the parts due to a industrial dispute. And really, really distinctive cars with a turtle as a logo. Yeah, it's difficult not to get a bit hooked on those. Designed by Dante Giacosa, I think, an Italian designer to get Italy moving and I guess replace the Topolino, is the iconic little Fiat 500. Looks like a left-hand drive car, this one, so probably imported. It certainly survived well, even though they were sold here. You can't dislike a Fiat 500, you just want to pick it up and take it home, don't you? So I can't walk past a Mercedes W201. This is the 25 16 valve car. Beautiful, beautiful paintwork on this one. If it picks it up on camera, it is immense. Originally these were developed for rallying and came out in a 2.3 litre form. Rallying didn't happen because Audi dominated that with the four-wheel drive Quattro, so they went racing with it instead and developed this derivative, made famous by Ayrton Senna in a Formula 1 support race back in the day. This one's immense. It's on air ride, as you can see, but it does look absolutely lovely, doesn't it? So that's lovely, isn't it? A moonstone blue Ford Sierra Cosworth. What, 220 horsepower? Not a lot by the standard of these days, but back in the day they were fly machines, often nicked. This is an 86 on a D. It's got, of course, the whale tail spoiler, that lovely typical Ford period interior and plastics, Recaro seats, and it looks pretty immense, doesn't it? So Ford does indeed give you more, and in this case it gave us the Ford Escort RS Turbo. Now these were the early days of turbocharging. Quite a car, and most of them were in white, like this one. So single-handedly, this Oldsmobile 98 might make my video a bit longer, literally. It is an immense car. I mean, we probably need to take a bus ride from the front to the back. Just typical of that late 50s, what, early 60s Americana. Massive bench seat inside, column gear change, some lovely chrome detail features here. Look at it. Now I've got to pick out for special attention these rear lights. I mean, this was a sort of space race times for the US, but look at those. They are just a work of art. You could put those on a bookshelf, you wouldn't be disappointed, would you? That is absolutely something else, isn't it? Incredible car. So if your classic car's too big for a modern garage, how about an Austin J40 pedal car? There's a fabulous story behind these. How the factory opened in 1949 to make these pedal cars, and it was to actually provide employment to injured, I think they were injured miners in actual fact, or maybe other groups as well, but incredibly exquisite. And here at Bicester Heritage they've got quite a few examples. That's lovely. Look at that attention to detail with that Baker Light even steering wheel. Looks immense, doesn't it? Got the proper Austin of England logo on there. Wow, looks immense, doesn't it? Built predominantly for the export market is the Austin 890 Atlantic. They only actually built 4,000 in the end. It was a commercial disaster. It did go on to give its chassis and part of its floor pan to the Healy 100 and then Healy 3000 and that range of Donald Healy produced cars. Some lovely styling features here. This one's beautiful. It's been a former Lancaster pride of ownership entry car. You've got to drink in the majesty of this car, particularly from the back, and look at some of those styling features. Those central 5 chrome bands that run down the centre of the car. It is a very distinctive and a somewhat rare car. The Robert Opon designed Citroen XM, built with, I think, a Maserati engine. Citroen then owned Maserati for a period of time, and this was one of the cooperations they did. And this is a super rare car. Left-hand, I think all built in left-hand drive. I've never seen a right-hand drive car. Maybe they did exist. This example in gold looks immense, doesn't it? They are a work of art. They really are. So a reminder of what a colossus the Roots Group were. This is the Super Minx, which replaced the Audax Minx. Look at those interesting arrangement for the indicators. And this one's Super Minx is a bit more unusual in it's the lesser seen estate, and it's in, well, I can tell you, stood in front of it now, it's in brilliant order. What a usable estate car. It looks like that rear tailgate is a split one as well by the look of it. That's handy, isn't it? And we thought BMW had maybe invented that, so yeah, good to see that. So it's lovely to see an Alphamontre Hall here. Now these were not intended for production. They were built for the Expo exhibition in Canada, I believe, and such was demand for the vehicle or interest that they decided to build it. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, that reminds me of something, Simon, there. Well, yes, it does. It reminds you probably of the Miura, the Lamborghini Miura, because Bertoni were involved in the design. Now, you can see those grills. They look like they've got a cooling impact. They have no cooling impact at all. They are totally aesthetic. And that is one pretty looking car, isn't it? In full rallying Moya Carlos Sainz spec is this Ford Motor Company Ford Focus Mk1. What a car that Focus was. Absolutely superb. Great to see. I think one of the original rally cars here today at Bicester. Beautiful to see it in that full movie star martini livery as well, isn't it? Beautiful. So back in the day when cigarette advertising was still allowed in motor racing is this Porsche 911 Rally in full Rothmans spec. And doesn't it look immense? Looks like a genuine rally car. It's got all the timing gear in there as well. Beautiful. That's got some presence, hasn't it? Well, what have we got here? We've got a first generation Suzuki Swift, sold I think as the Cultus in Japan. I think sold from the early 80s. This one's, oh, it's an executive model. It's a 1987 exec model, and doesn't it look a treat? It absolutely is a survivor. Apparently it's got climate control on it. My Mercedes-Benz 190 doesn't even have that, so this is already ahead of the game. That is Absolutely immense, isn't it? Now, you're unlikely to see one of these on the road anytime soon. It's a Lancia Delta S4 Group B, so built to homologate the cars for rallying, driven by the late Henri Toivonen. Built in small numbers. I think they've got about just short of 500 horsepower, something like about 480 horsepower, something like that. And they're an immense, incredible looking car. Could only have been conceived for rallying, a bit like the short wheelbase Audi Quattros. Lovely colour and condition, that one as well, isn't it? So what could be better than a first generation BMW 3 Series E21? Well, a B6 2.8 litre version from Alpina. It's got the traditional Alpina trim on the inside. Drove a very late Alpina, I think an E92 recently, and they've got the plaque hand built in Burkhardt in Germany. And yeah, this is a proper car, isn't it? Absolutely lovely, that one, isn't it? I do like that one. I do like this first generation 3 Series, and that one is really a looker. So this smart looking Mercedes is W108 109 series car, I think technically classed as the first S-Class, and I think badged as such in actual fact. So the badge on the back does actually mean something in this instance. It's badged as SE, S for sedan, and E for Einspritzen, or fuel injection in German. And it's a lovely example, isn't it? And that series of cars would go on to become what we regard now as the pinnacle of Mercedes, the S-Class. So this XJ40 was donated to the Jaguar Heritage Trust, and it's a sport, so it will have been fettled by Tom Walkinshaw. It doesn't have the engine mods, but I think has the chassis mods. Unusually with this particular car, it is a manual, so I'll just take a quick look inside. I've just had to sit in it. It's a manual transmission car. Now, when's the last time you've seen a manual Jag, apart from maybe an X-Type? So we'll just take a look around the back of the car. You can see it's got the spoiler and the semi-body kit that I think Tom Walkinshaw Racing, with joint venture with Jaguar, did back in the day. That's super to see that, isn't it? So the Maestro enjoyed a 40th birthday last year. Can it really be the 40 years since it arrived with its talking electronic dashboard, which was all the rage at the time? And this is the MG version. Doesn't it look right with those quad type design wheels, that red pinstripe? That really signalled that this was something a bit better than the average Maestro. Huge glass areas even on those cars. Really different to a lot of the Golfs and probably the Escort that was around in the period. Quite a modern looking car for its time. So still badged, in fact, as a Datsun. This is a 200L. Before the Nissan brandy came along, I suspect this is an import. Well, it is. It's a left-hand drive car for sure. The executive car of choice for the aspiring Japanese businessman. There you go. Pretty unusual to see those here today. It's turning out to be a bit of a Japanese festival with some of the cars here. So let's go and have a look at this 105 series Alpha next to it. That's a treat, isn't it? It's not the step nose, it's probably the later car, I suspect. And to move from one extreme to another, we've got TVR's finest, a wedge TVR. I think, what's that, 350 probably? That's a beauty as well, isn't it? So it beats me how a Peugeot 504 Cabriolet can look so pretty when it's just got normal Peugeot 504 underpinnings, mechanicals underneath the chassis as well. It does echoes of the styling in places, maybe the front wings and the doors, but apart from that, they're pretty cars. Now, Joseph Lloyd of Lloyd Vehicle Consulting actually had the opportunity to drive one of these recently, so I'm massively jealous. So check out his video on the Lloyd Vehicle Consulting channel. But it's a beauty. So what fire-breathing monster is this? Turbo with an intercooler. Well, in actual fact, it's a Honda. It's a Honda City. I don't know a huge amount of details on this, but it's immense, isn't it? What, built to K-car standards? I'm not quite sure. Looks like it might be slightly bigger than K-car. Japanese market code, Japanese brochures. My My grasp of Japanese is not what it was, so you'll have to help me out in the comments if you know more about this one. I'd really appreciate it. But let me walk you around the full majesty of this one. What a great little fun car. I would absolutely love a go in one of those. Again, if you've got one, let me know. And if that wasn't enough, is this Motor Compo. It's the bike for going around the paddocks, the Honda bike that accompanies it. I don't know, but that's quite a set, isn't it? I'll take it. Giugiaro designed Pandas with the flat body style and flat glass. Yeah, we've got those as well. We've got a pretty standard looking car, and we've got something more suitable for off-roading. Take your pick. Great little cars they are. It says an awful lot about me and the channel in that I can get excited about seeing an early-ish, well, it is a facelifted, but it's a Renault Espace, designed by a British designer who was working at Chrysler, I think, at the time, called Fergus Pollock, and then he went on to be produced by Matra on behalf of Renault. So it's glass fibre, is it? I'm not sure exactly whether it is glass fibre or not, but it's certainly not a metal body, composite body of sorts. What an incredible game changer this was. Now you can see it is a full 7-seater, 8-seater. You've got seats in the back there, hopefully you can pick that up. You've got a picnic table. You can even turn around the passenger and probably the driver's chair to face the opposite way. What an incredibly useful vehicle. So there you go, Renault Espace fans. Oh, this is immense, isn't it? It's a BMW E28 520i, so it's a 6-cylinder. It's got a lovely beige interior. Unusually, it is a manual car, but what's striking about this particular car is the colour. Supplied by Reg Vardy of Harrogate. Back in the day, the BMW dealers in North Yorkshire. But that is, it's just immense. I'm in love with it. Look at that. It's got the cross-spoke BBS alloys. Yeah, I hope I never see one of these for sale, because I can't be trusted near an E28. Just look immense, don't they? An Alfa Romeo Alfetta. Now the Alfetta went on to donate its platform in a number of guises to a cash-strapped Alfa Romeo. Used the Alfetta platform a number of times to underpin its successors. I think it might have even been the Giulietta it underpinned, or certainly successor cars as well. Again, you don't see too many of these about. So this has to be the unicorn of the day. Yes, it looks like a Lancia Y10, but it's correctly badged as an Auto Bianchi, which was a joint venture between Fiat, Italian bicycle company Bianchi, and Pirelli. But this one is, wait for it, it's a four-wheel drive. I didn't even know there was such a thing. You know what, you learn something new every day. So somebody's obviously imported this car. It's obviously a left-hand drive one. I have never seen another one of these, and if you have, then please let me know where, unless it was this car, of course, on this video. Got that very, very distinctive cut back black hatchback there as well. You're not going to see another one. I didn't even know that was a real thing. If you've got any more details about this car, you're the owner of this car, please put me out of my misery and tell me about it in a bit more detail, because honestly, this one has got to be the unicorn of the day for me so far. Now, shout out to the owner of this beautiful Saab 99L. And I think I might even have seen this one on Piston Heads or one of the forums. It's such an unusual colour and such an unusual car. You know, if the owner's watching this, then by all means put the story in the comments, because you just don't see them about, and I don't even think I've seen one in this colour. What a fabulous car. Got those impact bumpers. Saab were really into safety even back in the day. So the gifted designer Ian Callum designed this CX75 for Jaguar, and it debuted, I think, at the 2010 Paris show. I'm pretty much, I think, I've got the press pack for that one. But it never actually made production, and it's one of his lasting disappointments that he could never actually make the business case work to get the car produced. It's an incredible looking car. It did actually star in the Bond theme, so some of them were engineered at least to be used on a film set for James Bond. But what Callum's done on behalf of a very rich private client is actually make this one road ready, so it is legal, It is able to be used for the road, and doesn't it absolutely pop in that colour? Some fabulous styling designs. Callum's work at his absolute best, isn't it? Doesn't that look something else? Wow, I think he did an absolutely cracking job with that car, and I'm pleased that at least one of them has actually made it to be a road ready car. Brilliant. And if you're fed up with Morris Minors and Marinas, then at the other end of the scale is a Pagani Zonda. There's buckets loads of carbon fibre on this car. God knows how much those carbon fibre mirrors cost. I think pretty much the whole monocoque is carbon fibre. This one is a stunning looking car. Now, you might not be into supercars, but sometimes you just got to appreciate something like this that's an absolute work of art. And if you've got the money, then yeah, maybe to have one of those would be a treat. Now, this Morris Minor Barn Find project, it is not for the faint-hearted. It was a finalist in the Barn Find section at the recent Practical Classics show, and I'm glad to say they haven't spoiled the patina of the car. There's still remnants of owl all over the roof. I'm not sure I want to spend too much time inside it. Actually, I'm doing this only for the viewers. I'll take a step back out. It's affectionately called Barney. Well, I could think of some other names, but whoever's going to try and bring this back from the dead, I wish you the very best of luck. It'll take quite a lot of teacup. Good luck. So this very honest, usable TR7 convertible from, I think, 1980 belongs to channel subscriber Chris, so absolute shout out to you. I did find your car eventually after meeting you earlier, and it's in pretty good, honest order. It's an honest, solid car, Chris tells me, and it's got him all the way here from I think Devon, so brilliant, excellent, glad to see you and the car. So this one's another rare one. Do you know what it is? Well, it's based on TR2 mechanicals, and it is something called a Swallow Duetti. So the company had the idea to produce something that was probably a bit more upmarket for the American market, but based on TR2 standard Triumph mechanicals in there, and they used the name of, I think, the lady who ran one of the US Cal dealerships as the name of the model. Well, you couldn't make it up, could you, really? So I don't know how many of these there are in the UK. This is a right-hand drive car. It looks quite nice inside, to be honest with you. Simple, but very nicely appointed, and a bit of beige leather, but I don't think I've seen one before. It does share a remarkable resemblance to some of the Triumphs of the period, and I guess that's no wonder. But yeah, there we go. Swallow Duetti. Tick that one off the list. So thanks again for watching Lot 76 cars from the second Bicester Heritage Scramble of 2024. Hope you've enjoyed the cars we've seen today. Quite an eclectic collection. If you have, then please like, share, subscribe, click on notifications to be informed of my next video, and as always, once again, thanks for watching.